Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back another video day, and today I'm going to be doing my NFL Week 2 power rankings as Week 2 of the NFL season does start tonight when the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins take action on Thursday Night Football, which you could say is the first Thursday Night Football of the season. Yes, did we have a Thursday Night Football game last week, which was the season opener with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens. It was a great game, but that was the season opener. It was an NBC game, but this is the first real Thursday Night Football game on Amazon Prime Video, where we'll see the real Thursday Night Football crew going at it tonight. So I'm excited to see what happens in this game between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. But before that matchup starts, we have to do the power rankings going into Week 2. As always, like I did last year, I go from 32 to 1. So we'll go from 32 all the way to 1. Let's get into it. So now, before I start, I did not do preseason rankings. I don't really like doing preseason rankings because you really don't know what's going to happen in Week 1. And there were a lot of surprising wins in Week 1. And just don't like doing. I could have done preseason rankings, but I didn't. So there's no a previous spot for any of these teams. So, but as the weeks go on, and as when I'll be doing this next week, I will be talking about where I had that team last week. But in this video, in this power rankings list, there is no this team was at this spot last week, because this is the first rankings of the year. All right, so starting off at 32, I think this is pretty obvious, and it's the Carolina Panthers. I still feel like with this Panthers team, even though it's a bad Week 1 loss, I don't think you can say it's time to give up on everything. It's time to give up on Bryce Young and the team they have. I think it's very early. I think there are only a couple teams from their Week 1 performances that you really start to get alarmed. I think for the Panthers, you already knew they were going to be bad. But I thought what I'm trying to say is I still think there's a lot of room for improvement for this team, but I didn't think you were going to see anything special on Week 1 on the road in a tough place to play in New Orleans like they were playing the Saints in Week 1. It was a brutal performance, and that's why I have them at 32. Now, this is one of the teams that I think you could probably say, unless they do something now about the way they're playing, mainly their quarterback position, I don't see a lot of ways for improvement like I do with the Panthers. But this team at 31, I have the New York Giants 0-1. They just lost to the Vikings 28-6. I'd actually like this team, kind of. I like Malik Neighbors. I thought he had a really nice rookie debut. I really like Motor, their running back, Devin Singletary. I think they have a pretty solid defense. Their defense only gave up 21 points to the Vikings, as Daniel Jones did give up some points, throwing a pick 6. Also threw another interception in this game. So, their defense is actually pretty good. They got a good defensive line. There are some holes in the defense, but and they have a couple solid parts on offense with Neighbors and Singletary. Also have some other solid young wide receivers like Jalen Hyatt and Wan'Dale Robinson. You also have Darius Slayton. So the wide receiver group isn't too bad. You got a solid running back. It's definitely not Saquon Barkley, but it's a solid running back. The only problem with this team really is the quarterback position, and Daniel Jones did not show anything at all in Week 1. So I got them at 31. At 30, I got the Raiders. They're 0-1. I was really actually looking forward to the Raiders this year. I still think this team could make some improvements. I like Antonio Pierce as a head coach. Really like the fact that they got Devontae Adams and they have Brock Bowers, but I thought their offense, again, just like last year, was very disappointing. But obviously, since it's a quarterback and a new offense, a new system, things could get better for them. But I was not impressed with the way they started off the season. At 29, I got the Tennessee Titans. They're 0-1. That was a brutal loss. I think there were some losses this week that, we saw some teams blow some leads. You can look at the Arizona Cardinals, the Jacksonville Jaguars who blew some leads, the Dolphins and the Bills. But I thought this one was definitely the worst. Because if you look at it, the losses that the Cardinals and the Jaguars took, Tua Tagovailoa and Josh Allen were great in the second half of those games. Played amazing football. And that was the big reason why, we saw the Jaguars and the Cardinals lose Week 1 wins. This was the opposite. Caleb Williams was terrible in that game. I'm not trying to hate on Caleb Williams because I think it's definitely so stupid to get mad at when a first overall pick struggles in his first game, because that's kind of usual. He didn't throw an interception. That's one thing. So he wasn't terrible. He wasn't good. But it's not like he threw a bunch of interceptions. There weren't any turnovers that I know of. I don't think there was a fumble. Yes, they only scored 3 points on offense, but we see that's kind of like a normal for first overall quarterbacks. Now only throwing 98 yards, that's kind of not normal, but this was a loss for the Titans where they blew a 17-0 lead, where the offense that they were facing didn't do anything. It was all, they had a kickoff touchdown, or maybe it was a punt return touchdown. They also had Will Levis threw a pick six. There was another fumble. It was a mess. There was a block punt touchdown. This game was a mess for the Titans. So I thought they looked brutal. At 28, I got the Broncos at 0-1. Broncos, another team, definitely could improve, but Bo Nix did not look good in his first NFL game. 27, I got the Commanders. This is a team that had a quarterback that definitely did look good in his first NFL start. I'd like to see him throw the ball more. That's something I didn't think he did enough, but looked good in the rush game. I thought he had an impressive debut, but I got them at 27. Then at 26, I got the New England Patriots. It was a great Week 1 win for the Patriots. Let's see if they can keep it up, though. Wasn't too surprised that the Patriots got a win in Week 1. I didn't predict them to win last week, but I definitely thought that there was a chance, because we saw the Patriots defense, have games where they actually looked really good, and they just lose because of the offense. There were so many close games that they had where the offense was doing terrible, but the defense kept them in the game. So I definitely love the Bengals being a little bit banged up. You could have saw the Patriots win, but I didn't think it was likely because it was a road game. But we'll see what happens with the Patriots. They got a matchup at home against the Seahawks this week. If their defense can keep it up, we could be talking about them being 2-0 a week from now. At 25, are the Falcons being 0-1. They took a tough loss to the Steelers, 18-10. There's not much you can do offensively when TJ Watt is attacking you like that. But, tough loss for the Falcons. I don't know if they bounce back in Week 2 facing that Philadelphia Eagles team. And I believe that is a home game for the Eagles, if I'm not mistaken. And so then at 24, I got the Cardinals. They're 0-1. Took that tough loss, being, up by like 14 points and blowing the lead to the Bills. They lost 34-28. But we'll see if they can bounce back being at home this week, going up against the Rams. At 23, I got the Vikings, a team who I wouldn't say got a surprising win, but it was a good win. I think some people, they were actually kind of considered as the underdog because there was a road game. And it was Sam Darnold's first start as a Viking. I thought the Vikings were going to win. I thought they did some really good things, and I got them at 23. At 22, probably the best performance of Week 1, or maybe you can say the highest score, definitely the highest scoring of Week 1, and that's the New Orleans Saints, 22. 1-0 after beating the Panthers 47-10. We'll see how they do against some real competition this week against the Dallas Cowboys. Now at 21, the team that lost to the Cowboys, the Cleveland Browns 0-1. They lost 33-17. Things looked horrendous, but we'll see how things go this week, facing off against the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road. I don't know how that plays out. If their defense can do some good things, as their defense wasn't really terrible in that game if you look at it. There's a lot of field goals for Aubrey, and there was also a punt return or kick return touchdown. Cowboys only scored like 26 points. The Cowboys only had 26 points in offense, but a lot of the field goals that Aubrey made were because of just Deshaun Watson not being able to convert a fourth down or throwing an interception. So we'll see how he does going up against, an easier matchup in the Jaguars, but it definitely doesn't make it easier that it's on the road. But yeah, next team, I had the team that, they'll be facing this week, and at 20, that's the Jacksonville Jaguars being 0-1. I have the Seahawks at 1-0 at 19. I have the Colts at 18. Being 0-1. That was a tough loss to the Texans, 29-27, but, Anthony Richardson actually looked pretty good, stayed healthy. That's something I was actually really concerned about, and I didn't expect him to get hurt in Week 1, but That was a problem last year. People talk about the fact that he missed 13 games last year, but I think a big thing for me is that he played in 4 games and got hurt in 3 of those 4 games. So that's definitely more of a concern for me, is that even the games he's playing in, he's getting hurt and has to leave those games. And that's most of those games. So he stayed healthy the complete game, took some hits, running the ball, and was fine. Had a couple, just missile shots. But there were mistakes. He threw an interception, had some bad incompletions. But we'll see how he looks going on the road against Green Bay this week without Jordan Love. But at 17, I got probably one of the most impressive defensive performances this week, or I don't know about the most, but one of the most. And that's the Los Angeles Chargers being at 17, 1-0. I got the Bears at 16, 1-0. That's probably another really impressive defensive performance that they had. I got the Jets at 15 at 0-1. I'm not going to hate on the Jets too much. It was a tough game, but it was Aaron Rodgers' first game back, first full game back in almost 2 years. Not only that, but they were facing off against one of the best offenses in the NFL, an offense that still scored 32 points without the best running back in the league. And not to mention they had some undrafted running back in Jordan Mason go for almost 170 rushing yards. A great defense as well that Aaron Rodgers and the Jets were able to score 19 points on, or Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor. Let's give some credit to Tyrod Taylor because he did lead a touchdown drive. But I think things will be a lot better for the Jets this week as they'll be going up against the easier defense than the Titans. The Titans have a solid defense, but it's nowhere close to the 49ers. At 14, I got the Packers at 0-1. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how things look for the Packers without Jordan Love. At 13, I have the Cincinnati Bengals at 0-1. I suspect they'll go to 0-2 facing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, but they're going to have to look a lot better if they want to pull off an upset win against Kansas City. At 12, I got the Los Angeles Rams at 0-1. This is another one where I would probably have them in the top 10 if it wasn't for an injury. It's that I feel the same way with the Green Bay Packers as well, and it's for the Rams, it's Puka Nacua getting injured, and for the Packers, it's Jordan Love getting injured. I think Jordan Love has more of an impact on the Packers than Puka Nacua does the Rams, but I think both of those teams would probably be in the top 10 for me if Jordan Love and Puka Nacua were both healthy. But knowing they have some tough matchups this week, I don't have those two teams in the top 10. Now at 11, I have the Buccaneers at 1-0. Baker Mayfield looked really solid in week 1, early MVP candidate, but now they have a tougher matchup facing the Detroit Lions, who they lost to in the second round last year in the playoffs. We'll see how that goes for them. But if they win this week against the Lions, I might have them in the top 5. All right, now getting into the top 10. At 10, I have those Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 1-0. Great win. Mainly have them in here because of the defensive performance from the Steelers that we saw and the mainly defensive performance from TJ Watt. And now I will quickly have them out of the top 10 if their offense doesn't start putting up some touchdowns on the board. I thought it was very disappointing how the Steelers could not score touchdowns, settled for 6 field goals. I thought Chris Boswell, their kicker, looked amazing, one of the best kickers of week 1, but you cannot win you're not trying to win all of your games, but it's going to be hard to win games when all you're doing is getting field goals. It's not going to be every game you have 6 field goals. So Steelers need to start getting touchdowns. And it might be easier to do that this upcoming week going up against the Broncos. All right, at 9, I have the Miami Dolphins at 1-0, and at 8, I have the team they play tonight, the Buffalo Bills. At 7, I have the Baltimore Ravens at 0-1. I liked what I saw from the Ravens, liked what I saw from Mark Jackson and some of their guys offensively, like Zay Flowers and Isaiah Likely, Derrick Henry. Defense looked pretty solid, but and this is just because this is the way I feel. I don't like putting 0-1 teams in the top 5. They definitely deserve to be in the top 10, but I just can't put an 0-1 team in the top 5. Now, if they get a win and they go to 1-1 this week, if they get a win against the Raiders, I'll probably have them in the top 5 most likely. At 6, I have the Dallas Cowboys at 1-0, beat the Browns 33-17. Great win for the Cowboys. We'll see how things look against the Saints this week. At 5, I got the Detroit Lions after beating the Rams in overtime, 26-20. They're 1-0, so they're the first team in the top 5. At 4, I got the Eagles. I really loved what I saw from the Eagles. Defense looked pretty solid. Jalen Hurts looked really good. obviously Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown looked amazing. Even Devontae Smith looked pretty good. So things were very impressive for the Eagles in week 1. Let's see them keep it up. At 3, I have my Houston Texans as they're 1-0, beating the Colts 29-27. After the Texans looked incredible on the road. And here's the fact. The Texans put up 29 points, and C.J. Stroud struggled. It's crazy that 234 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, no interceptions is struggling for C.J. Stroud. I wouldn't say he struggled, but he didn't have his best game, and he made some mistakes. Some of our other players made mistakes as well. That is not the best football you will see from C.J. Stroud, and the Texans still almost put 30 on the board and got a win on the road against the Colts. Against an Anthony Richardson who was just killing it. At 2, I have the San Francisco 49ers at 1-0. After their win against the New York Jets, I obviously can't have the team that was just in the Super Bowl not in the top 2. And at number 1, it's pretty obvious. The team I have at number 1 is the Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl. After their win against the Baltimore Ravens and the fact that they won the Super Bowl, you cannot have them at any spot besides 1. If I did preseason rankings, like I mentioned, I didn't. If I had a preseason ranking, the Chiefs would probably not be number 1, to be completely honest. I'd probably have maybe the 49ers at number 1, or maybe the Ravens at number 1. And then like the Chiefs at 2 or 3. But after the win, what we saw from them last week against the Ravens, there's no other spot for number 1 for them after their week 1 performance. And we'll see how they do against the Bengals this week. That's one of their biggest rivals. That's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and peace out.